Black Voices are an incredible powerhouse, and it's been such a joy for me to spend so much time with you both digitally over the last year. And today gives me a chance to ask some of the things that we wouldn't normally get time to chat about. So, Carol, tell me, how did it all begin?
Oh gosh, it began back in 1987. The women that started Black Voices were all backing singers. We used to do a lot of studio session work and, do a lot of miming on stage behind bands and stuff. We always had a great laugh when we were in my flat, practicing our little do-ups and trying to make them tight, and harmonies that we'd have to hold long oohs or ahs, and we'd always feel really good about the sound that we were creating. But then we'd go on stage with the band and it was like our mics were turned off. It was just about, doing a bit of choreography and looking cute in the back. But there was one time when we decided that as part of our rehearsal, we'd try a song that we liked and we'd just busk and start harmonizing together. And I don't know, there was a deep connection in that rehearsal. And I think that weekend we were traveling up to Liverpool to see an a cappella group called Sweet Honey in the Rock from America. And we'd never heard of them before, but we just knew that it was no instruments, just singers. And we took the trip up to Liverpool, and I think it's the one time we drove back together as women and nobody could speak. We were just blown away. We couldn't believe that 5 women and a sign language person were on stage for an hour and a half, no instruments, but just took everybody in through their voices. And yeah, I just think that started the seed for starting Black Voices. Really, we kept saying there's nothing like this in England. We haven't got anybody. I think Mint Juleps were trying to get off the ground at the time, but Mint Juleps were very much about pop covers. But I don't know, Sweet Honey were grounded in the oral tradition, where it had come from, how it had been used, and they were continuing that, but in a really accessible way for audiences. And I think that was the draw for Black Voices, and that's how we started back in 1987.
Amazing. Charisse, you're the artistic director of the group. I'm going to make a guess and say you've not been the artistic director since 1987. So what inspired you to kind of step into that role?
I guess I've just been doing a lot more of the producing the shows, choosing the set lists. We've been doing some stuff at Jazz Cafe in the last 4 years. And it was like, we want to celebrate women in jazz. So we've got a Nina Simone show, an Aretha Franklin show, a Billie Holiday show. And Carol was just like, can I put you in charge of this? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And so, yeah, it's just kind of taken off, from there, producing the shows for Jazz Cafe, and just getting more involved in like, selecting the set list for Black Voices performances, thinking about the way that we use the stage, just making it a little bit more interesting.
Amazing. And both of you have just mentioned some big names, both in the a cappella tradition and then some of the names that you're kind of representing at the Jazz Cafe. So who are the musical pioneers that have kind of paved the way for what you're doing now?
Oh my God, one of them died this week, Mary Wilson, just anybody. I think people think that the story of Black musicians going round the back, not allowed through the front door, not being recognized for the contribution they make in, writing a song or being on stage in the sound that they're contributing to somebody who doesn't sing that well, making them sound good. Whether it was Elvis's backing singers, whether it was, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Nina Simone with all her struggles. I think all of them people paved a way for Black Voices, because each time it broke down a little bit more of the barrier. And I think we can go on stage today because all those women paved a way for us to do that. Men too, but because we're a women's group, we celebrate the women more.
Of course. And Charisse, who are the Black women doing it now that you're looking to and being like, I want to emulate that?
Oh, now, oh gosh, there's so many amazing singers out now. Her is one of them. She just did the Super Bowl at the weekend, and Jasmine Sullivan. And if I think of like British artists that are emerging, Celeste is amazing, and you know, Georgia Smith, Laura Mvula, my cousin, how could I forget her? So yeah, there's just a breadth of talented young Black women that are, you know, really, really doing some amazing things in music right now.
Carol, yourself and Black Voices have been instrumental in leading community projects and delivering developmental opportunities within the city. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that with Black Voices you've delivered and why you felt they were important projects for Black Voices to be a part of?
I think for us, yes, we had the backing singers experience and all of that. Yes, we were used to going in studio and, you know, putting down some harmonies for somebody's album or something. But we didn't really have too many other doors open for us or opportunities open for us to do much else. You know, occasionally at Christmas, somebody needed something jolly and they'd think, oh, I know Carol sings, maybe she can bring a few of her mates and come and sing.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
So I think that's stayed with me through everything that Black Voices has been doing. And I really have used opportunities that we've been given. So we've performed somewhere and then somebody will come up to us after the concert and they'll say, do you guys do workshops? We'd love to get you down because I reckon you could get my granddad to sing and he don't sing at all, you know. So at first we'd think, nah, it's not really what we do. But the more we thought about it, the more I understood that the opportunities afforded Black Voices through being associate artists of the Town Hall Symphony Hall, being able to stand on such a world-class stage and deliver what we do, that's an opportunity that's been afforded us. So I was, you know, charged with thinking about how do we make opportunities open for the groups that we are working with day in, day out, who could only dream of that kind of opportunity. So I think Community Spirit, which is one of the biggest outreach programs that we run, came about just because of that. You know, we were working with fantastic choirs up and down the country. People always say, we don't know how you and Celia and Charisse and Bev do it, but you know, within half an hour, you've got people singing in 4 parts, really feeling like they own it, making a great sound. And yeah, we thought, why not give them the opportunity to be on Symphony Hall stage or Town Hall stage or Warwick Arts Centre stage? They deserve an opportunity just like anybody else. I think sometimes we can be quite snobbish about music and think that, you know, okay, community, maybe in a community centre, maybe, you know, in somebody's garden fete or something. But I really think the bigger the opportunity you give people, the more they rise to that challenge. And what's great about Community Spirit is that there's choirs of all kinds of abilities. There are some choirs who are doing really professional stuff, and there's some who started last week with 6 people, and you know, but they're learning, everybody's learning from each other and sharing repertoire and being I think building skills through the different repertoire that they're challenged to take on. So that's what I love, enabling and providing opportunities through our outreach programs for participation, engagement, for sharing. Yeah, just giving opportunity to those who wouldn't have it normally.
And one of the incredible things that Black Voices have done for the music scene in the city, in addition to that, is acquire the iconic Grosvenor Road Studios. So I know, Charisse, you've been in there this week, for example. How has the space served you as a group?
Oh gosh, so many memories. I mean, obviously before Black Voices owned it, the Taylors owned it. And I can remember being dragged along as a child to go and watch Black Voices record albums. And then it seemed like only a few years later, I was in the studio recording, you know, Black Voices albums. It's just a wonderful space. And, you know, there's so much history in the building. And yeah, it's just been a great space for Black Voices to be able to record, to rehearse, and just be creative over the years.
And beyond that, I mean, one of the incredible things that you've done with that studio is, yes, it's the home of Black Voices, but it's also the home for so many different groups of people there as well. I mean, you've really invested in that community. Can you tell us a little bit about who else calls Grosvenor Road Studios home now?
Well, quite a few local organisations have offices there, from TV, video production companies, internet companies, people who work with special needs children. Big Local are based in our building. Musicians are based in our building because of the resources that are there. But I think what's great is that we try to encourage as many sectors of the community to come in. So on a Saturday, you can't get in the building because there's a Saturday school that just takes over the whole building. During the summer, there are so many youth programs running inside and out in the community garden. There are fantastic exhibitions that, you know, showcase the work of local artists. We encourage local artists to test and trial things through the centre as well. So one of the programs that we do that through is Music Exposed. It's run by local artists and they showcase local talent. They fuse, they work together. It's just a really exciting time, I think, for what we're doing. I think Black Voices is we're finally comfortable in our skin. And what the COVID pandemic has done for us, it's made us focus on what we're doing at the centre and how can we make it bigger, better, more accessible, just cater more to the local community. One of the things that COVID has certainly highlighted for me is the joy that you get through singing and the arts generally. That's something that we really need to be prepared to make more accessible to more people when we come out the other side of this. That's the only way we're going to survive.
How has life changed for Black Voices over the disruption of the last year?
Majorly. I mean, any singer out there, it doesn't matter whether you do a cappella or you sing with a band, any musician, any artist really, if you can't make that connection with audiences, that's who we make our work for. And if you can't do that in a live setting, you know, that deep joy and connection that live performance gives you, it's just been missing. I mean, we've done some stuff online. You've kindly facilitated a lot of that for us, but it really isn't the same. I think people just can't wait to have that live experience. I will say we were blessed during the first lockdown. We were able to carry out one of our engagements in Genoa in Italy. And we hadn't sang for 6 months, I think it was. And we didn't want to come off the stage. It was just, and I think the audience felt it as well. You could see in their faces that they were starved of, you know, just engaging and just being in a space, enjoying music live with other people. And yeah, it was just an amazing concert. And I think it was a bit of a reinforcement for us. It made us know, yeah, we're doing something powerful, something that people enjoy. It brings us joy, and we share that joy. And yeah, it's an incredible feeling.
Totally. And I mean, the last 12 months hasn't all been doom and gloom. Cherise, for example, congratulations. You've been awarded an RSL Awards Fellowship. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So my RSL came as a surprise. I was at Grosvenor one afternoon in September and I got a call from Norton York. He's the chief exec at RSL, and he's also my old course leader at Westminster University. And we had a little bit of a chit chat, and then he finally got to the point and he was like, so we're looking at awarding these fellowships, and so we're going to award you one. I have to say, I didn't know what a fellowship was at the time. So I kind of had to go away after and kind of look it up. So it's like, okay, it sounds really important and I'm really excited, but I don't quite know what it is, but it's a really big deal. And it's basically just an acknowledgement of my contribution to music over the last 20 years. I'm not somebody that's been out, you know, in the forefront, you know, like bigging up myself. That's kind of not my thing, but I've done a lot of work behind the scenes. So I've been working for Harrow Music Service for over 20 years as a vocal tutor. So I've like worked in virtually nearly every school in Harrow. In some capacity, I ran Harrow Youth Gospel Choir. I used to run the youth choir at GRS that used to meet on a Saturday morning. And then aside from that, there's obviously Black Voices and then the session work that I've done in music. One of the sessions being Black Panther. So I sang on the film track for Black Panther. So just lots of things that have been going on in music over the years. And yeah, he just basically wanted to celebrate it and just celebrate somebody that wasn't in London, in the capital, and look at what's happening, you know, in music around the UK.
Well, you might not be one for bigging yourself up, but you absolutely deserve it, and you should be bigging yourself up because you do incredible things. You both do. I mean, Carol, let's talk a little bit about your MBE. How did that feel when you too received, rightly so, such huge recognition?
As Cherie said, it's really humbling. You know, I think I cried for about 2 hours when I opened the letter. It's a shock because, as Cherie says, we just get on with what we do quietly. You know, we've always wanted to try and make a difference for generations coming up. The struggles that we had in terms of accessing opportunities in music, we didn't want them to have the same struggle. So we've really tried to open GRS to support as many of those young people as we can, to our detriment sometimes, when they break stuff and, you know, we're not core funded, but we've got to find a way to pay for it. But yeah, it's humbling, and it's also very, it's like a blessing. You realize that there's people watching what you're doing, even though you're not conscious of it. And it's nice to receive an accolade for what you do and for what you love doing. So yeah.
Looking ahead, I know that there are a few exciting plans in the pipeline that we can't talk about, but are there any teasers that you can share about what you have got lined up for the future?
Well, I think a lot of, well, I'm not getting any younger. Charisse always looks 20, you know, her genes are strong. But I think for me, for the rest of my days, I would like to just make our studios a real thriving community hub that everybody feels. Of course, music is a big focus for us because that's what we're in, but we want it to be a multi-arts facility that everybody in the community feels some kind of ownership of. I think we're blessed in that the historic things that you can't deny that went on at that studio, whoever was in music in Birmingham through the 60s, 70s, 80s would have come through that studio at some point. And I almost feel like we're just the gatekeepers of a really precious space in Birmingham. And so over the next few years, we will be about trying to celebrate that in big ways. And we hope to house a music archive that people can come and see the good stuff that went on there. The community gardens, great. We hope that we can do lots of outdoor activity. The window of the Commonwealth Games has put a spotlight across the whole of North Birmingham, and we're right in the heart of that. So hopefully, with all those good things going on, there'll be even more goodness coming through Grosvenor Road Studios. I think we've always been on the road. Prior to COVID, we've always been on the road trying to earn enough money to make sure we could keep the centre going, to bridge any shortfalls in income. And I think now we're realising that we can work another way and really see it as a kind of jewel in North Birmingham that everybody can celebrate and be part of celebrating. So yeah, I'm excited about what can come. And Sharice has been managing the centre throughout COVID. It's not something that she thought she could do, but my God, she's been so good at it. I think all the tenants have had a culture shock. You know, every single room in that building has had a clear out. You know, I know this week she's even been painting. So yeah, nothing has been too big or too small. We've just got a great team of volunteers who support us in what we're trying to do, you included, Richard. And yeah, there just seems to be a new momentum coming out of COVID.
Black Voices are huge champions of the local music in Birmingham. Sharice, what do you think needs to be done in order to support local artists in the current climate and as we move out of this pandemic into a new world?
I definitely think funding in the city needs to be addressed. I know so many musicians and, you know, singers and creative artists don't know that these funding opportunities even exist and that they could have been going for, you know, these funds throughout the pandemic. So I think that's something that really needs to be addressed, to let people know that, you know, things are out there to help them in these times. And it's whether, you know, we're performing live again in the next 6 months or 8 months or 12 months, you know, it's to support and get people ready for that next stage, like what's going to happen next. And I think so many things can be done in preparation for when things reopen, you know, in terms of whether it's launching a website, trying to get live streams going. There's just so many possibilities right now, but I think a lot of people need the support to do those things. And the support is out there, but I think we need to shout about it so people know how to tap into all these resources, so that, you know, they can, you know, they don't feel like they need to go and get a job in Tesco's, you know, and they can keep doing the creative stuff that they want to do.
Totally. And that creative stuff is so important. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, look at the positive impacts of singing on people's mental health, on togetherness. And I think rounding it off and bringing it back to Black Voices as a group after such a long time of separation, I think the art form of singing together as a collective will just have so much more attention and appreciation as we emerge from lockdown. Audiences are just going to be so excited to see you. Have you got any gigs on the horizon, or are we still waiting to see what happens next?
The goalposts keep moving and we just adapt with the times that we're in and just, you know, work as best we can.
Thank you so much for having a chat with me today. I really appreciate it. It's been such a joy to find out a little bit more about the history, but also about some of the plans for the future. And I know I'm excited for those plans for the future, and I can't wait to continue that journey with you all. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.